I thought I'd shoot this quick lessons learned video on my DIY 5-story multi-generational passive ICF house that I've been building mostly on my own. And it has to do with Burmon hangers. So love Burmon hangers, they're great, it's a great system. However, turns out that the reason why, see up there, that's my roof. The reason why my roof is not completely on is because I'm having to wait for my structural engineer to get back to me on an issue with the Burmon hangers. So normally, and for those of you who don't know, this is actually a Burmon hanger, and this is the bolt that goes through it into the concrete. And what Burmon tells you is that if it's on the outside, so for example, the top of my bump out of my garage, you'll see some of the Burmon hangers down there. So those, what Burmon says is that on the outside, you definitely need to put 1/2-inch rebar, and they just say put 3 inches of rebar, kind of belt and suspender, so I did 8 inches. And what you do is you put it through these little holes, and then when the concrete gets poured, and also with Burmon, just picture, let's see, like that. So just picture that it's in the concrete. And I guess I should also explain what a Burmon hanger does. At least in this case, it's the ledger hanger. And that is, it's what you connect your 2x12 to the concrete. And so what they recommend, not just recommend, it's actually required, is whenever you put a Burmon hanger on the outside of a building, you always have to make sure that you put the rebar through the holes. And what that does is it helps with the pull-out strength. But when it comes to the inside, what Burmon says is don't worry about the inside because you don't have to worry about pull-out on the inside. And so with my roof system, I heard them say that, but I thought, you know what, I'm belt and suspenders. This is my roof system. I want to do everything that I can. However, the problem was I left it until the morning of the pour. And so what happened was I got my dad, my son, and a friend, and they went around and they did end up putting the pieces of rebar through the top bolt. As you can see right here, there's actually 2 holes because there's 2 bolts. They ran out of time. They weren't able to put it through they put it through some of the bottom bolts, but not all of them. But once again, it was just belt and suspenders because it was on the inside. However, what my structural engineer explained is that because I live in an earthquake zone, so up there, I don't know if you can see the mountain up there, it's called the Wasatch Fault. And if that ever goes, it's going to be about a 7.8 point earthquake. And the structural engineer does not want the 2x12 to get pulled away from the concrete. And so in my engineering plans, he didn't mention that because he said nobody ever does it. And so it turns out that I'm the first one that he's aware of that's actually put some actually hex bolt, a little 3-inch hex bolt is all that's needed, but it's a 1/2-inch hex bolt. This is way more than a 1/2-inch hex bolt. So when I contacted him, he said, well, did you put it in both the top and the bottom bolt? And I was like, well, we put it in all the top bolts. In fact, we put 2 of them in the top bolts, but we didn't put them in the bottom bolts. He explained, he said, well, unless Burmon has done some sort of testing to see what kind of pull-out strength there is on just the top bolt, then you're going to need to go with the Simpson, basically it's Simpson ties. And in that case, what I'm going to have to do is drill into the concrete, set basically a 1/2-inch bolt with epoxy into the concrete, and then nail that to the every 4 feet, nail it to the bottom of the open mud floor trusses. So I am shooting this video to let everybody know that even if you're not in an earthquake zone, I mean, it only would have taken me like another 15-30 minutes to put the rest of these in, and then I wouldn't be delayed. And although, to be 100% honest, 2 pieces of 8-inch rebar going through this bolt, how is that any less strong than 1/2 inch bolt with epoxy going into concrete? I honestly, I don't get that. For pull out, there's no way that this big bolt is going to pull out of the concrete when it's got 8 inches, 2 8-inch pieces of 1/2 inch rebar going through it in the concrete. But is what it is, and the city requires you to have a structural engineer sign off on all of this stuff. So I am waiting for him to give me a final decision, because the other issue that I'm facing too is I can go ahead and put that Simpson, basically it's a tie on the bottom. If I were to do it on the top, yeah, I'd be okay if he allows me. There's about a 2-inch gap up there. If he allows me to kind of put the strap up and then screw in to my 8 inches of concrete like this, but I really don't have space to screw into the side like the plans show. So either I'm hoping he'll allow me to put it on the bottom of the strap or on the top, or hopefully he'll realize a bolt this big with 2 8-inch pieces of rebar going through it, that actually has more pull-out strength than just one little 1/2 inch bolt going through some Simpson. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't matter. I'm not the engineer, so I have to go with what he says. The other thing too is it's going to be about $400 or $500 just for the Simpson, and then all the nailing, all the time. Plus, I'm dealing with the delay. I mean, right now I would love to be up on the roof, actually gluing and screwing all my roof sheathing into my roof rafters, and instead, I don't want to call it piddling around, because I'm still doing stuff that needs to eventually be done. But today's Saturday, and I had a 65-hour work week this week, so I wasn't able to get over to the house. It would have been great to have been able to put in 10 to 12 hours on a Saturday, but instead I'm waiting for the structural engineer to get back. So hopefully that will be helpful to somebody else. If you are putting in Burmon ledger hangers, put the rebar through all of them. Anyway, I mean, it's like $20 worth of rebar. It's a lot less expensive than doing all those Simpson ties. And the other thing that I'll share too is the structural engineer. Like I said, the professionals, he's like, the professional never put rebar through it, so I wasn't expecting that you would either. Anyways, so hopefully this will be helpful to somebody else, so you don't make my mistake. And if you've listened this long, I'm guessing you've already subscribed. So thanks for watching.